When I look around this room, I see the same fire I had when I first stepped into the world with nothing but ambition, a stubborn belief in myself, and the willingness to do the hard things every single day. Success didn't come to me in one grand moment. It came in habits, tiny choices, daily promises kept when no one was watching. And trust me, discipline isn't a talent. It's a muscle. You build it, you train it, and yes, some days it feels like it's working against you before it works for you. I've lived in different countries, worked in different industries, failed publicly, reinvented myself more times than I can count. And through every transition, one thing stayed constant: my commitment to who I wanted to become. Discipline gave me clarity. Habits gave me momentum. And mindset gave me the courage to keep showing up even when the world said I didn't belong. The magic you're looking for, it's hidden in your routines, your discipline, your mindset. That's where your future self is quietly being built. So today, I want to share with you 20 habits, not dramatic, not glamorous, but deeply powerful, that shaped my journey. Habits that taught me resilience, sharpened my focus, and helped me turn every stage of my life into a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. If you're ready to step into the strongest version of yourself, then let's dive in, because your story is just getting started. Discipline is the foundation of long-term success because it becomes the quiet force that shapes who you are long before the world ever notices you. When people talk about success, they love to highlight the moment of achievement, the award, the breakthrough, the applause. But the truth is, those moments are only the surface. What lies underneath is the invisible structure you build every single day, the choices you make when no one is watching, and the standards you hold yourself to even when it's uncomfortable. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about commitment. It's about deciding that your goals deserve more than your excuses. It's about showing up even on the days when you don't feel inspired, when you're tired, when life gets unpredictably chaotic. Those are actually the moments when discipline becomes powerful, because you're proving to yourself that your dreams matter enough to fight for, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. What I've learned is that discipline is not something you wake up with one morning. It's built gradually, habit by habit, decision by decision. Some days you'll feel aligned and focused, and on others, you'll feel pulled in 100 directions. But discipline is that internal compass that keeps you anchored when your emotions shift or external circumstances try to distract you. It teaches you how to prioritize what truly matters over what gives instant gratification. It shows you the difference between wanting something and being willing to work for it. And most importantly, it gives you a sense of self-respect, because every time you choose discipline, you're choosing to honor your own potential. You're saying, I trust myself enough to follow through. That trust becomes your strength in every chapter of your life. People might assume discipline is harsh or rigid, but actually, it's the opposite. Discipline gives you freedom. Freedom from chaos, from self-doubt, from last-minute panic, from relying on motivation that comes and goes. When you build discipline, you create a structure that supports your growth, protects your energy, and pushes you toward consistency. You begin to understand that small daily actions compound into big results, and that the world doesn't reward the person who works the hardest once. It rewards the person who works steadily for as long as it takes. Discipline makes your goals feel less like distant dreams and more like the natural outcome of your daily lifestyle. It turns someday into something real and inevitable. And over time, it becomes part of your identity. What often surprises people is that discipline affects not just your work, but your mindset, your relationships, and your confidence. When you show yourself that you can stick to something, even something simple, you start to believe in your ability to take on bigger challenges. Your resilience grows, your vision sharpens. You stop getting intimidated by failure, because discipline teaches you that setbacks are temporary, but consistency is transformative. You stop comparing yourself to others because you realize success isn't a race, it's a routine. And through all of this, discipline keeps you grounded. It keeps you humble but hungry, steady but ambitious, patient but persistent. It becomes the quiet force that pushes you to keep evolving instead of settling. It keeps your dreams alive even during seasons of doubt. And over time, you start to see that long-term success isn't built on moments of inspiration. It's built on disciplined actions, repeated long enough to change your entire life. Small daily habits create massive future transformations. because they quietly influence the direction of your life long before you notice the changes. People often believe transformation requires something dramatic, a major life event, a sudden breakthrough, a bold decision. But the truth is that the biggest changes usually begin with the smallest, most consistent actions. It's the tiny routines you follow every morning, the choices you make throughout the day, the promises you keep to yourself, even when they seem insignificant. These actions compound over time, shaping your mindset, your discipline, and ultimately your destiny. When you choose a small habit today, you're not just performing a task, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. And the more votes you cast, the more your identity aligns with your goals. Until one day you wake up realizing you've become the person you once only imagined. The power of small habits lies in their simplicity. They don't overwhelm you. They don't require massive energy or motivation. They slip into your daily routine almost effortlessly because they're manageable, repeatable, and sustainable. And because they're easy to do, they're also easy not to do. That's where discipline steps in. When you choose to do the small things consistently, drinking water, reading 10 minutes a day, practicing gratitude, organizing your space, planning your tasks, you're strengthening your ability to follow through. These habits might seem small, but the mindset they build is powerful. They train your brain to value consistency over intensity, progress over perfection. Slowly, they shift your internal narrative from "I hope I can change" to "I am changing every day." That shift becomes the beginning of transformation. What most people underestimate is the compounding effect of small habits. Just like saving a small amount of money regularly leads to wealth over time, investing in tiny, meaningful actions leads to emotional, mental, and physical growth. The transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens in layers. Your clarity improves, your discipline sharpens, your confidence grows because you're proving to yourself that you can keep moving forward even in small ways. These habits also create structure, reducing chaos and decision fatigue. When certain behaviors become automatic, you free up mental space for bigger, more demanding goals. You start to realize that success isn't about giant leaps. It's about steady steps taken consistently in the right direction. And those steps are guided by the small habits you choose every day. Eventually, these habits don't just change your routine. They change your identity. They shape how you think, how you show up, and how you react to challenges. You begin to embody the qualities you once admired in others: resilience, focus, positivity, strength. You stop waiting for motivation to strike because your habits keep you moving even on low energy days. You stop questioning your abilities because your daily actions reinforce your capability. Your future stops feeling uncertain because your daily habits are actively building it. That's how small habits transform your life. Quietly, consistently, and profoundly, until the results become too big to ignore. Mindset determines how you respond to challenges because it shapes the meaning you give to every situation you face. Two people can go through the exact same setback, lose a job, face rejection, fail at something important, and walk away with completely different outcomes. The difference isn't luck or talent, it's mindset. Your mindset decides whether you see a challenge as a dead end or a doorway. Whether you believe you're being defeated or being redirected, whether you feel like giving up or rising stronger. It becomes the lens through which you interpret life, and that interpretation influences your decisions, your emotions, and your long-term resilience. A strong mindset doesn't remove challenges from your life, it simply changes the way you view them, making you more capable of handling what comes your way without losing yourself in the process. A powerful mindset isn't something you're born with. It's something you train, nurture, and strengthen through self-awareness and repeated practice. It begins with recognizing your internal dialogue, the thoughts that run through your mind when things get difficult. Do you instantly blame yourself, or do you analyze what can be improved? Do you see failure as proof that you're not good enough, or as evidence that you're learning and evolving? Your response to adversity becomes a reflection of your internal beliefs. When you start shifting your mindset from fixed to growth-oriented, you stop seeing challenges as threats. Instead, you view them as opportunities to expand your abilities, refine your strategies, and deepen your emotional strength. You learn to separate your identity from your outcomes, which gives you the courage to try again, without fear of judgment. What mindset really gives you is emotional stability. When you face setbacks with a balanced, resilient mindset, you stop being reactive. You stop spiraling into panic, frustration, or self-doubt. You become more intentional, more grounded, more capable of pausing and choosing how to move forward instead of letting emotions dictate your choices. This stability becomes a superpower, especially in moments of uncertainty. Life will always bring challenges, unexpected changes, disappointments, difficult people, tough decisions, but with the right mindset, you no longer feel helpless when those moments arrive. You feel prepared. You feel in control of your response, even when you can't control the situation. That sense of internal power becomes the difference between giving up and growing through the challenge. Mindset also determines how far you're willing to go in pursuit of your goals. A weak mindset quits early. It looks for shortcuts. It gets discouraged when things aren't happening fast enough. A strong mindset understands that success is a journey filled with obstacles, tests, and moments of self-doubt. It knows that temporary discomfort leads to long-term growth. It embraces the idea that resilience is built through struggle, not comfort. So instead of shutting down when the path becomes difficult, you lean into the challenge. You become curious instead of fearful, patient instead of frustrated, determined instead of doubtful. And over time, this mindset becomes your internal engine. It pushes you further, keeps you focused, and turns every challenge into a stepping stone toward a stronger version of yourself. Consistency matters more than motivation because motivation is fleeting, unpredictable, and often tied to emotion, while consistency is a commitment that carries you forward regardless of how you feel in the moment. Motivation can be powerful, but it behaves like a spark. Bright, exciting, energizing, yet temporary. It can get you started, but it can't sustain you through the days when you're tired, distracted, overwhelmed, or unsure. Consistency, on the other hand, is the steady force that keeps you moving even when the excitement fades. It's the promise you keep to yourself, the routine you follow, the discipline you build. When you show up consistently, you prove to your mind and body that your goals are not just wishes but priorities. This repeated action becomes a habit, and habits create results long after motivation disappears. Consistency works because it builds momentum. When you commit even a small amount of time or effort each day towards something meaningful, you create a rhythm. That rhythm slowly becomes your normal. You stop thinking, should I do this today? Because doing it becomes part of your identity. The progress you make might feel slow at first, almost unnoticeable, but consistency allows you to stack small gains on top of each other. Over weeks, those gains add up. Over months, they compound. Over years, they become life-changing. People often assume the biggest breakthroughs come from dramatic actions, but most breakthroughs happen after long periods of consistent effort, when all the small steps finally align and create a noticeable shift. Without consistency, even the best ideas, strongest intentions, and most ambitious dreams fail to materialize. Another reason consistency outweighs motivation is that it eliminates the emotional roller coaster that often derails us. When you rely on motivation, your progress becomes dependent on your mood, your energy levels, or your environment. One bad day can turn into a bad week. One missed task can trigger guilt or disappointment. But consistency removes the drama. It teaches you to show up regardless of circumstances. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop waiting for the right mood or the perfect moment. You stop delaying progress until you feel ready. Instead, consistency keeps you grounded and focused. Even when you don't do things perfectly, the act of showing up keeps you connected to your goals. That connection sustains momentum far more effectively than sporadic bursts of enthusiasm ever could. Consistency also builds trust within yourself. Every time you follow through, even in small ways, you reinforce your belief in your ability to commit. You begin to see yourself as someone who stays focused, someone who doesn't quit, someone who honors their intentions. This self-trust becomes invaluable because it influences every other area of your life. When you trust yourself, you take bolder steps. You recover faster from setbacks. You try again after failure. You stop viewing challenges as reasons to pause and start seeing them as temporary obstacles you can navigate because your consistency has already built resilience. You recognize that transforming your life doesn't come from being motivated once in a while, but from choosing to be consistent over and over again, especially during the moments when it would be easier to walk away. Reinvention is a continuous and empowering choice because life is always changing, and every new chapter invites you to evolve with it. The most successful people aren't the ones who have a perfectly straight path. They're the ones who learn to pivot, adapt, and recreate themselves when circumstances demand it. Reinvention isn't about discarding who you are. It's about expanding who you can become. It's recognizing when a version of you has served its purpose and being brave enough to step into a newer, stronger version. You don't need permission to start again. You don't need certainty to try something new. What you need is the willingness to believe that growth often begins at the edge of your comfort zone, where things feel unfamiliar but full of possibility. Reinvention becomes powerful when you realize you are not confined to your past decisions, your past failures, or even your past successes. You are allowed to shift, to try again, to rebuild, to redefine what your life looks like at any point. Reinvention is not a one-time transformation. It is a lifelong practice. Every experience you have, every mistake you make, every dream you outgrow gives you new insight into who you are becoming. And with each insight comes an opportunity to reshape your direction. Sometimes reinvention happens because life pushes you into it. A job ends, a relationship changes, an unexpected challenge arises. But the most empowering reinventions are the ones you choose intentionally. They come from honestly asking yourself if the life you're living aligns with the person you want to be. They come from acknowledging when you've stopped growing and deciding to take responsibility for restarting that growth. Reinvention requires courage, because the moment you step into something new, you also step into uncertainty. But uncertainty is not a sign that you're lost. It's a sign that you're expanding beyond what you've known. What makes reinvention so transformative is that it frees you from the pressure of having everything figured out. Instead of clinging to a fixed identity, you allow yourself to be a work in progress. You accept that change isn't a threat but a tool. You learn to let go of pathways that no longer feel right and make room for opportunities you couldn't have imagined before. Reinvention teaches you flexibility, resilience, and self-awareness. It pushes you to reflect on your strengths, confront your limitations, and uncover new abilities you didn't know you had. It also deepens your relationship with yourself because each reinvention requires introspection, understanding what drives you, what fulfills you, what challenges you, and what version of yourself you're ready to grow into next. Reinvention is empowering because it reminds you that you are not defined by the expectations of others. You are not limited by your past. You are not obligated to stay the same just to make other people comfortable. Reinvention gives you the freedom to rewrite your narrative as many times as you need to. It encourages you to take risks, explore new possibilities, and embrace growth even when it feels unfamiliar. And the more you practice it, the more you trust your ability to rise again and again. You start to understand that every new version of you is built on the strength, wisdom, and lessons of the previous ones. Reinvention doesn't erase your story, it enriches it. It becomes the way you honor your evolution, the way you keep moving forward, and the way you ensure that your life keeps expanding in ways that align with your purpose, your passion, and your potential.